Seems to be frozen now.
All right. I think we're going to be in good shape here. That is like so strange. What the sweet heck?
Right, and you're like kind of frozen on the screen.
All right. Well, let's just roll. I'm just going to reshare this thing. Sorry, Suzanne. I've never had that happen before.
That's okay. It doesn't bother me, honestly.
Cool. Live with Allegedly Suzanne at Michelle. All right. Okay, we're live. We got some people in the chat. All right. So, did you say horseback? Did you say that police were in there on horseback?
The horseback, yeah. Except for last Saturday, they've been there every week. Like, so the first week, the first Saturday of January, whatever that was, the second, we literally got downtown Toronto, and the police presence was crazy. We literally saw the police on the horses hiding in an alleyway, just ready for the word to go out.
What do you mean they were hiding?
They were literally like on the horseback in an alley, like not even on a road. They were hiding. Like that's all. That's the only word you can use for it, is they were hiding from the general public.
It's making me wonder if they are just like pushing for something to happen, because like they know that we're all conspiracy minded and like, yeah, you know, and we see, you know, what's going on and what they're doing. It's like they're trying to freak us out or something.
Well, it's so strange. They're trying to get a reaction. They're trying to get on video to prove that we're not so peaceful. You know, there's been a couple of incidents where people have lost their cool, and rightfully so, because they're being harassed for peacefully protest. But in the end, they're trying to make us look bad and not themselves. When we've been protesting, like I said, since last April, 40-something weeks with no issues whatsoever until the stay-at-home order.
Yeah, but like it's so funny, because what are you supposed to do if you oppose, especially with you guys being in full lockdown? Like what are you supposed to do if you've lost your business, you know, or if you're depressed and you can't be isolated anymore? Like what are you supposed to do? You know, like do they give you any kind of alternative? Like, oh, just right here with your complaints? Like what have you been given anything?
They want you to do. They want you to do the lame old stuff, right to your MP or your MPP and get a, you know, like a laden response. Like that's all it is. You're not getting any answers from these people. I've been calling the MPP for almost a year now, and all I get is the same emails they send to everybody else. No answers, no nothing.
Yeah, I'm getting to this point too where like so many people are still in like staunch opposition. I mean, are you like, can you tell me a bit more about the counter protesters out there? I know Sarah Jessica Parker's been giving you a hard time out there. I'm trying to get a grip on what's happening.
Sarah Jessica Parker.
Because she looks like a horse. That's I'm just being rude.
Well, okay, in Toronto, the protesters haven't been too bad until the last couple weeks. 2 weeks ago, we had an incident. We were marching past an apartment building, and literally somebody threw a bag of garbage and hit one of the protesters, threw some ice, nearly hit a police officer. I mean, we've got Sarah Jessica Parker from Almer, otherwise known as Horseface. They're the nastiest people in those small towns. Like the vile things that come out of their mouth, the harassment, the doxing of children who are trying to feed the homeless. These people, like, the only words I have for them is that they have become exactly the people that they claim to hate.
Oh yeah, yeah, and that's that's something I never really saw coming. You know, is these like the counter protesters from the general public, because it doesn't make any sense to me. They love the mandates, so why don't they follow the mandates and stay home? It's like, why are they out there?
We literally have protesters out here protesting.
Hoping that you'll get arrested for protesting.
Right. Right.
But
and literally some people are getting arrested. We've had quite a few people lately, and they're not getting arrested for protesting. What the police are charging them now with is common nuisance. For things like speaking into a microphone, a megaphone, carrying speakers with messages on them, carrying a sign. You can't even, some lady was arrested last week for holding a communist sign, like literally arrested. You can't do anything.
Yeah, it's getting insane. It's getting completely insane. Now what do you know Matt? I had him on my show. He was one of the guys who got arrested. I don't know if you saw that. He got dragged across the concrete by the cops.
Yes, Matthew's one of my good friends.
Awesome. I loved him. He was so good. I knew nothing about him other than that he got arrested, and I was shocked. And it's so funny because whenever I get a hold of a protester from different parts of the country, it's happened every time. Well, actually, no, there was one guy who I didn't like. But other than that one guy, there's been every single person has just been somebody with a good heart that's sick of this shit, man. Like every single person. And you could never do that with these counter protesters. All they would do is spew hate. And there's one guy, I'm trying to get him on my show. He's the health expert with the megaphone. If anybody watched my episode called When Kelowna Health Experts Attack, that's him. And he put some shade on my account, but yeah, I'm hoping to get him on my show so we can talk, because he says he's an anarchist. And so he's on the wrong side of the street. And I really want to talk to him because a lot of these people,
anarchist, he certainly is on the wrong side of the street, or else he doesn't understand what anarchy means.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's tough because you can't talk to these people because they're screaming at these like concerned citizens and their children. It's insane.
I just want to say one more thing about Matthew Haley is watch the video of his arrest. And there was another Filipino guy who comes to the rallies right beside him. The police go over and start talking to him. And they were going to give him a ticket. This kid is so badass. He literally just walks away from the police. He's like, yeah, no, I don't got time for that, and walks away. That's the best part of Matthew's video.
Awesome. Have you gotten a chance to talk to any of the cops out there? Like, what are they saying?
You know what? So on Saturday, me and my friend were swarmed by 6 police officers as we were walking back to our car, just the 2 of us, and we were ticketed. Now, when I asked them several times what the charge was and why I'm being ticketed, and their only response was, there's a pandemic and we have a stay-at-home order. No reasoning why I was being ticketed or anything. That's the only response that they have. I don't even think they know why I'm being ticketed. Just their
Yeah, because like we had I got to tell you about this one. So I found a church out here that's awesome. They remind me a lot of like the Church of God, where they're badass and they're just not shutting down. They're just doing church. And just for anybody that's listening, we all wear 66 masks and we all stand 666 feet apart, just like the government wants. We're super careful. But yeah, we do our thing and we worship, and then it's all good. But we had we've got like a Sunday school section, and we had a rat that I chased out of the parking lot. But he called the cops, and he met the cops in the parking lot, and he let them in a back door, and they went up to the Sunday school section, and they start going. And the kids got freaked out, so the people in charge put the kids in a separate room, and the cops start going, "Where are the parents? Where are the parents?" And they were literally leveraging the kids so they could flush out the parents and find them. Like it's getting insane. And I can't believe people are still supportive of this. It's absolutely out of control. And we all called it. We all called it. We all said, if we let them take this much power, they're going to abuse it. And like, it's such common sense. But with these like, because you mentioned some doxing. What's going on with that side of things?
So, my friend Julie, her daughter Phoenix, started the Phoenix Project, which has been helping the homeless throughout Ontario and Montreal. So they have now become a target of these maskers because they have in the past attended anti-lockdown rallies. So a few weeks ago, Sarah Jessica Parker and her friend Jordan in Woodstock basically stalked this 13-year-old child, live streaming her feeding the homeless, talking crap about her, and now posting. Her mother had an issue with the school this week over masks. Their children were going to the school with exemptions, and these people started calling the schools to get them kicked out of the school because they don't wear masks. So this week, my friend's daughter was basically kicked out of school for 2 weeks and sent home to quarantine because she fed the homeless. So these maskers in Woodstock, Ontario and Aylmer, Ontario have these different groups where they've been posting about the protesters, and they've now gone so low as to be posting about my friend Julie's 4 children, where they go to school, where they live, having people message Phoenix, who is 13 years old, and say some of the nastiest things I've ever read to a child. And it's just gotten out of control. I just can't believe that that people actually do this to children. Like you're now telling predators online that you don't know who all these people are watching your live streams or watching or looking at your Facebook page. You don't know who's a predator and who isn't, and you're divulging this information of 4 young children. So it's getting crazy. It's getting crazy. These people don't care who goes after children anymore. They really don't.
Yeah. Now, like these anti-freedom movements that are starting to pop up, it actually doesn't surprise me that there's these god-awful people out there that love the authoritarianism. But what does surprise me is how bold the media is in propping them up as heroes. Like, have they been writing articles about these guys over where you are at all?
There's a couple articles just that I don't really watch the news or read the local newspapers, but I have seen a few articles just about our rallies, and they make us look bad, even though everything's peaceful. And yet you have people like I had that guy Kyle in Aylmer, who's 3 times the size of me, literally, and it's on video, anybody can see it, threatened to kick my teeth in, and yet in the newspaper I get called the anti-masker and I get called the aggressor.
Yeah, of course. And like that is what's the real shock for me. And it's like we had one article that was written and they highlighted this guy who's his name is Diaper Dave, and they said it's because of people like Diaper Dave that we've been able to slow the spread in the Okanagan Valley. And like they released that a day after my video when Kelowna health experts attack. You saw a couple of clips of that if you're on the Facebook Live. They released that like a day after, and it's so funny. Like Castanet released a report, and you literally see me on the main picture. I'm there and I'm filming, and I'm filming these people that they're trying to highlight as heroes. And like I thought the journalists were supposed to tell you what's going on, and like you read the report and you watch my video. Like I'm not even an independent journalist. I'm none of these things. I'm just a dude with an iPhone. It's insane. And I've been aware of like the fake news media for a long time, but it's all of them. It's every single one.
Yeah.
So
it really is.
And it
It really
explains.
is. Sorry.
No, you go ahead, Suzanne. Sorry about that.
I was gonna say, like, even I've been reading a lot of mainstream media articles that I've seen on Facebook, and I've noticed that a lot in the last week and a half have really started posting about the truth and you know what's happening to our children and the long-term care facilities. But then nobody really like listens to the truth part of it. They don't like the truth is there and they're telling you the truth, but it's like you still close your ears. You don't want to hear that part. You just want to believe that, you know, there's still 80,000 positive cases every day and people are dying out in the street and everybody you know has COVID-19. Instead of them telling you, you know, they're telling you that this is killing our children. This is destroying our children. And people don't want to hear that. They're telling you that senior citizens are having suicidal thoughts because they're so lonely and they're not being able to see their family. But nobody wants to listen to that. They only want to hear COVID-19, 40,000 cases today.
Totally. It's fucked. It's like seriously fucked, and especially out there. Like I've got some sympathy for like the centrists out here because the mandates are not anywhere close to how it is in the rest of the country out here.
Right.
But our movement is, as far as I can tell, it's actually louder than a lot of places. Not really where you are, but like Saskatchewan and Manitoba. It seems like we're making more noise than a lot of other places, and we kind of have it the easiest, which is weird. But like these quarantine sites are like, they've got to be the nail in the coffin. Like if that's not going to make people stand up, if that's not crossing the line for people, like I don't know what is. Can you tell me a bit about that? Like I saw you on Rebel News. I was so stoked. I was like, there's Allegedly Suzanne right on Rebel News. It's just awesome.
We've been going to the Radisson COVID-19 isolation prison camp by the Toronto airport for the last 3 Thursdays. The last Thursday we were there, we actually had people in the windows waving to us. There was this one girl, she's going like this, like as if she's handcuffed, like she's kind of trapped in there. The week before, last week we didn't see anybody entering, but the week before, what they were doing is the buses were coming in with only one person on it. Everything is blacked out around the hotel, and then they drive the bus around to the side of the building, and it's this plastic tent. I guess these COVID isolation prisoners have to go through this plastic tent. Who knows what's happening inside there? And then they go to their prison cell. But literally, like some of the stories we've been reading and hearing, the food that they're getting. This one guy got a bagel that was rock hard. Another guy couldn't get water for 11 hours. You know, these people are not allowed to go outside. So let alone for vitamin D and fresh air. Like, what if somebody smokes cigarettes? Like, you're just taking that away from them. What if they smoke weed? The weed stores are open, so they should be allowed to go outside and smoke a joint. But they're not allowed to order their own food. They're not allowed to do anything. And it's the saddest thing to watch these people in the hotel that you know are prisoners. And they're afraid to walk out. Like, we've literally got signs with phone numbers, like what they did in BC, like telling them to leave and we will drive them home.
So that was something that I found very confusing watching you guys on Rebel. Was like, is the argument that you're not like that they can't hold you there because of the charter, or like what's going on with that?
Well, I don't even know like the legal logistics of it, but number one, like some of the reasons that they're giving is you had the wrong test. Like there was one guy who paid $130 for the PCR test, and he gets into Canada. They allowed him on the plane with that test, but he gets to the Canadian border at the airport and they're like, that test is not valid. You need to go. And what they're doing is holding them for 3 days, testing them. I'm not sure if they're charging them yet because I did hear that part was delayed. And then if they test negative, they now have to go quarantine at home for 14 days. And who knows what happens if they test positive. But literally they're forcing medical intervention on you. Like, how is that even legal? How are you allowed to force somebody to get a test that they don't want to be tested for? Like, if I had cancer and I said, I'm not going for the test, they can't force me to do that, but they can force you to do it with COVID-19. How many times have I had the flu and they haven't forced me to get tested? Actually, I don't think I've ever been tested for the flu.
Well, are you some kind of maniac that would just like eat chicken noodle soup and take a nap when you had the flu? Are you one of those people?
That's probably. I would have a hot toddy and get under the covers and sweat it out. But in reality, what I would do is use my healthy immune system and go have some pineapple and something that is actually going to make me healthy. I haven't been sick in almost 20 years, so I can't really say how a flu feels because I don't remember. But
Yeah.
I keep myself relatively healthy and I get outside. I'm outside like 8 hours a day at least. Sometimes even more on protest days.
Oh yeah, and I'm just shocked because like everybody knows that isolation and over sanitization and all lack of human connection and that everything every mandate and even like wearing the mask, like all these things, everybody knows that these things are unhealthy to do. And so when it first came out and they're like, you guys, we got to like lock down for 2 weeks, this big spooky scary bad man virus, like it makes sense for a short period of time, but the general public is literally like begging them to mandate these things that are unhealthy. Like they're making all of us way more unhealthy, and Bill Gates is saying that the next pandemic is going to be way more deadly. So you know, he seems to know what he's talking about. He was right about this deadly flu pathogen. He called it like 5 years ago.
They had it all planned out in November of 2019.
And that's why they call you Allegedly Suzanne. That's
Allegedly Suzanne.
Oh
yeah, it's so crazy. And I would like to tell your viewers, all you have to do, Google the 3 words: sanitizer, disinfectant, and thyroid cancer. And then tell me that your government cares about you. They're telling you to lather up in this toxin that is literally causing cancer in young children. But you go to school and it's lather up, lather up. Oh, you're leaving the room, lather up. Oh, you're going in the room, lather up. You use the washroom, lather up. You're going outside, lather up. They're literally killing you. They're making things way too sanitary. And we've been told in previous years that too clean manifest virus and helps mutate them. And sometimes you even get the super bugs because things are too sanitized. So please stop using sanitizer. Wash your hands with soap and water like normal people.
Yeah, well, because throughout my life, I've seen the general scientific consensus go from, if you're sick, here's an antibiotic. I remember all my friends would take antibiotics when they were kids. And my family, they weren't granola hippies, but they weren't big on going to the doctor. They were big on, they were bootstraps people, you know, like you just go home and deal with it and then go back to school or whatever. But the general consensus was you take an antibiotic. And then I saw the shift go from not all bugs need drugs. That was like a big campaign that they put out that was on bus stops and stuff. So there's 2 points I'd like to make about that. One is that sometimes the experts are wrong. And then we figure out that later that they're wrong, you know? And the other point is that Corona, they're doing the exact same thing right now where they're killing all bacteria everywhere. And that is not, it's not healthy. It's going to get worse. It's going to get way, way worse.
Exactly. We need bacteria to, boost our immune system. We need to be around germs to boost our immune system. If our bodies don't get used to these things, then as soon as it's around, bacteria, that's when we get sick. And maybe that's why I don't get sick, because I grew up in the 70s. Like, we were playing out and eating dirt and drinking from water hoses and, you know, wiping our nose all over our face, or, you know, you don't have to be clean all day long. Like, you really don't. You're not, unless you're like going to the washroom or actually dirty, like, you shouldn't be washing your hands every 5 seconds. Get
Yeah.
yourself used to germs and bacteria.
Yeah. It's yeah, I don't even know what to say anymore. Like, I'm really coming to this place where, like, I'm not even reaching out to normies anymore, because if you're okay with Canadians being held in detention centers against their will, as like, the real cherry on top is that these people are getting negative COVID test results and they're still getting shoved in these China-owned hotels.
Right.
I don't know what to do anymore. Like, I'm just gonna keep doing all that I know to do, which is peaceful assembly, you know, and talking shit into a microphone.
Right.
That's all we got.
We can do. That's all we can do, and wake people up. Last week when we were at the COVID prison camp, we met this guy. He was, there's a Tim Hortons there, and he was coming out of the drive-thru. He starts talking to us, and he was a funeral home. He was the guy who goes and picks up the bodies from whatever, the hospitals and homes and stuff, and takes it back to the funeral homes. But he was telling us, he goes, like, literally, that people are being listed as dying of COVID, but when you look at the medical history, they had cancer, heart attack, diabetes. He said there's one guy in the basement right now who is literally 700 pounds, listed as dying of COVID-19. Like, 700 pounds. And you're trying to tell me that this guy died of COVID-19. No, how about the diabetes and the Coke and the hamburgers from McDonald's have been killing him? But because he had COVID in his system, all of a sudden, that's the big killer.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, man. Now, are you guys still in full lockdown, or what's the status over there in Ontario?
They lifted some restrictions in some areas. My city is still on basic full lockdown. They've rescinded, or not rescinded, they let the emergency order expire, but which really means nothing, because last year, Doug Ford, in July, he passed some law that allows him to continue emergency mandates and orders without the Emergency Act being into effect. So right now, my city, I'm still on full lockdown and stay-at-home orders, not to be in groups of larger than 5, and we are only allowed out for essential reasons. However, Doug Ford did say that he cannot tell people what is essential to them, because what may be essential to you is different from what's essential to me. So the very first weekend of the lockdown, actually, it was the very first day of that order, I showed up at Doug Ford's house with a protest sign that says, "Protesting is essential to me." The police told me they were going to arrest me and charge me, and they didn't, because I played for them the part that Doug Ford said he cannot tell people what is essential for them.
Really?
Yes.
Awesome.
Oh, and I should let you guys know that on November 21st, when I was charged for allegedly organizing the rally at Doug Ford's house, it's now, I don't know, what's the date today? The 11th? 10th?
10th.
It's now February 10th, almost 2.5 months later, and the charge has still not been filed with the courts.
Weird. It's almost like they know they can't follow up on charges that go directly against the charter.
Last week, when I got my ticket, everything is wrong on the ticket. So they spelled my first name right. They spelled my last name. And come on, folks, Robertson is not a hard word to spell. But they spelled it Rubertsun. Then I give her my address, my full mailing address, and she writes a completely different address. She put down 1350 Mapleview. I don't even know where that is. And She didn't put down my postal code. She also, so there was, I think, 10 of us that I know of that all got the same ticket. Every single amount is different. Every single one. Some people got I got 850. My friend got 750. 3 of my friends got 830. One person got 880. One person got 800. So it's like it's all over the place. And I almost want to say like that the cops know that these won't hold up. So they're either screwing it up on purpose and not filing them, or they're just incompetent and they don't know how to do their job.
Mm-hmm. Well, Tobias from the Church of God, he told me that they tried to haggle with him because he had, I think it was a $2,300 fine, and they were like, "Oh, well, how much will you pay? How much?" And you know what he told me is, and this is in my interview called "Church is Essential" on my YouTube. Mm-hmm. He said, he goes, "All right, you guys, how low will you go?" And it was like, I think it was a $2,300 ticket. He goes, "How low will you go? What's the lowest amount I can pay?" And they go, $300.
300.
Yeah. And he goes,
I hope he has all this on tape, because there's a set fine in Ontario, and the set fine for breaking the Reopening Act is $880, and it works out to $750. And I think the 130 is either tax or some victim surcharge, but our tickets are $880. There is there's no haggling or discounts. Like, where does this come from?
It sure looks a lot like they're just trying to get us comfortable with no more charter. That's sure what it seems like, because it's fucking crazy. And you made a point on the last show there about the vaccine, is that like there's no way out. They've said the vaccine doesn't work. They've said that we have to act as if the vaccine doesn't work. There's no way out. They've pigeonholed us into this new normal. And Matt, I gotta just put out a call to people that, like, if this is your new normal, okay, but anybody who's not comfortable with this being the new normal had better write a goddamn sign and join these rallies, man. They better start rallying.
Right. And I know I've seen even like on my mom's groups, people who were so against this before, all of a sudden, you know, now I'm hearing, well, I'm not getting the vaccine. It hasn't been tested. I want to know, you know, what the long-term effects are. So even some of those people who may be against the protesters, they're starting to wake up to what's being put in their body. Right.
And what direction the society is going. Because we're going to this new normal. They have for real like pigeonholed us into this spot where there's no way out. So we better either demand that we are free, or just lay down, you know, like just lay down and take it like a good little slave, you know, because this is for real, like a prison planet. It's getting so out of control. And sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, you go.
I've been trying to put out a call too that because a lot of people in the movement are very focused on how not deadly the virus is, which is important, and it's good for people to be aware so they're not so freaked out. But Suzanne, imagine how they would react to a 95% death rate. Imagine what our country would look like if 5% of people who got this virus die. Because I don't want to live in that world. You know, we know how they'll react to a 99.97 or whatever it is. And so we better demand freedom at all costs. Otherwise, it's going to get super ugly out there. Because then I'm sure the next one's going to be more deadly, or they're going to mutate into something more deadly or something.
Right. And the funny thing is like, especially from the liberals, you know, like they've always had that big, you know, my body, my choice. Yet all of a sudden it's not my body and my choice. And I just don't get how they can flip-flop on that stand saying, I have a right to do this, and then tell you, but you don't have a right to do this with your body. It makes absolutely no sense what these people, I don't even think these people think anymore.
No, and that's you know, people that try to like you know, debate the anti-freedom protesters and stuff like that. I'm trying to get the message through to them that like you can't ascribe logic to this irrational, brainwashed person because they're not thinking logically. Like when health expert Heather digs her little claws into the mask and rips the diaper off to scream at my friends and their kids, it's because she knows that the mask is nonsense. She just wants everybody to do the same thing. And she loves yelling at people in the grocery store that don't have the mask on her face, and she doesn't want to lose that power. You know, like these people are genuine monsters. So I don't know, like there's no stopping them. We got to just find, I think it's the fence sitters. It's the fence sitters that might change the tides here. You know, it's the people that are like, you know, the mask is good. We should have the mask, but no more lockdowns. It's those people that we got to just like kick them in the pants and get them to write a sign, you know?
Right. And I even welcome like those people who wear a mask, like that's up to them. Just all I'm asking from them is to not force me to do something with my body that I am not comfortable with. That's all it is about. You wear a mask until the day you die. I don't care. Just don't force your opinion that you made because the TV told you something. Because everybody knows that these masks are not protecting anybody. We've seen that as soon as the mask mandate started, the positive cases started rising. And they can say it's because the anti-maskers are not wearing masks. But then on the flip side, they tell you that the flu is gone because everybody's wearing a mask.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that my body, my choice point too. Like my friend Jord, I just put her comment up on the screen for the people to see. That's her big thing. And that's what she writes on her sign most weekends and holds up. And she's just like a nice young woman who's out there and just like, you know, what was a mainstream belief like a year ago, you know, that everybody used to be on board with and everybody loved, and you know, you'd have no problem saying that, but now that's an offensive thought crime, you know? Right. And with you saying that, like, you don't watch the news, it's funny because if you don't watch the news, you will be arrested. You know, like if you don't watch the news and you're like, you don't know anybody who's sick and you walk into a grocery store to just buy your groceries and like, why would I put a mask on? Like, I don't know anybody who's sick. Like, you're not watching the news. You don't know. You're a criminal. Like, they're criminalizing everyday people that don't deserve this. It's a mess, man.
I literally have 2 grocery stores I can go to now that, you know, the Metro owned stores, and they're great. They literally have announcements in the stores about mask exemptions and to
awesome.
Be considerate to those who can't wear a mask. But my No Frills over here, which is a Loblaws owned store, they literally have a sign outside that says, if you come into the store without a mask, they are forced to call the authorities. Really, I've been going into that store. We started our mask mandates near the end of July of last year. I have been going into that store maskless with an exemption up until the middle of December. And then all of a sudden now they're going to phone the police on me. I'm like, really? Like, I've literally been shopping in this store for 16 years and bam, they want to make me a criminal.
Yeah, totally. And that's a real common trend. And it's the same thing where like, you know, we had that genuinely tragic Nova Scotia shooting, and their answer is to take guns from hunters and people who are like them going after the restricted firearms. Those are the most law-abiding gun owners in the whole country. They like, there's regulations on what kind of safe they can have, and they have to call the authorities whenever they transport it. Like, and it has nothing to do with these tragedies. And so what they're doing is they're just criminalizing everyday people and expanding control every step of the way. It's right there. It's right there for everybody to see. Like,
right. And as much as Nova Scotia was a tragedy, did you see the Maclean's magazine article?
No.
Okay, so I'm going to send it to you later, but basically they're saying that he was an RCMP informant and he took out $450,000 the day before all that happened. It was Maclean's magazine. I couldn't believe it that they actually reported this. I'm going to send it to you later. It's very interesting.
Yeah, please do, because I've heard that from some wacky people.
Yeah,
so
that
some
was
crazy
from Maclean's magazine.
That's nuts. That's nuts. And that's another trend, is that the wackiest people will tell me stuff like that, and then like a year later, you'll see it. You'll see it in the news. Oh my God, what a mess.
What they're doing, because now what they're to do is make even responsible gun owners look bad. There was it was floating around Facebook last week, but there was some guy who shot 2 people and killed them over shoveling snow or something in the States. And right away, to me, that screamed that they're trying to make good gun owners look bad. And it probably didn't happen, or it didn't happen the way they made it out to be, but they're going to use incidents like that to take away people's guns so that we can't fight back. When they bring in the United Nations police, we're going to have our hands tied behind our back. We have nothing.
Yeah, totally. And where have we heard this before? Take the guns, take the speech, take the right to protest. Like,
Right.
We're on a real slip and slide, in the name of diversity and inclusion. We're on a real funky slip and slide right now.
Right.
And I've been thinking a lot about too how people actually believe that there's this like magic cloud around people like us, and that they're like don't want to get close. It's so funny. But yeah, we've heard of all this before. We've seen it before. We all know what it is.
Right. And I don't get it. You don't want to be around me. Like literally in 10 months, people know me from Toronto from being the hug girl. I would hold up the free hug sign and I would literally give hundreds of hugs every weekend, every rally. I've given out about tens of thousands of hugs, unsanitized, unmasked in the last 10 months. And I can't even get a sniffle. So either the virus is not as deadly as they're telling you it is, or I just play a good game of like hide and seek with it and it can't catch me. I don't know. But I literally can't even get a cold.
Yeah, and it's funny because I'm a service plumber, right? And it's like these people are telling me that it's so dangerous for me to go to these rallies and that kind of thing. But if they're toilet plugs, they're not worried about my health.
Correct.
Like they're still gonna call me. They don't care because they know this whole thing is bullshit. It's all a lot, and like it's I'm getting a lot more candid with some of my rhetoric because we're coming up on a year. Right. We've lost like a year of normal life. Like I want to go to a concert,
Right. I'm a baseball fan. I want to go see a baseball game.
Yeah, it's a mess. Hey, with those horses, is there any feasible reason for why they would have police on horseback?
Absolutely not. For what? Because people are carrying a sign and screaming freedom. Like that's literally all that we do.
But
I'm not harassing anybody. I'm not hitting anybody. We're not being violent. We're literally screaming freedom and carrying some kind of sign. Why all that happened, I have no idea. But they were not there last week.
It's intimidation, right? Like it must be intimidation.
Right. They're trying to scare people. And so my friend on Saturday, he ended up getting arrested. I don't know if you saw the video of Dave Freedom. But he literally carries like a wagon with speakers and he makes up great speeches every single week with facts. And they literally arrested him last week, confiscated his equipment, charged him with common nuisance. And what they're doing is they're getting by it by charging you and then putting restrictions on you. So he can now not go anywhere in the downtown core of Toronto. He must abide by the Emergency Act, the Ontario Reopening Act, any laws. So he can't be in a group of more than 5. He can't go to a protest because that's breaking the law. He's like, even if he's at Shoppers Drug Mart and he's not 6 feet away from somebody, they could literally take him back to jail. But that's what they're doing. They're using the law and the bill restrictions to put these unlawful restrictions on people that make absolutely no sense. My friend Dave is the most peaceful guy. Does it like he usually holds me back from arguing with people. He's the calmest guy. And it's just ridiculous to see that he's now looking at 2 years in jail for pulling a wagon with a speaker. Like, he doesn't even have a sign. He doesn't even get up and do speeches. He's just pulling a wagon. That's it.
Yeah. Well, tell you what, allegedly, Suzanne, I've been a little jealous that you guys are fighting cops on horseback and getting pepper sprayed and all this kind of cool stuff. But the cops out here are saying that this weekend they're going to really clamp down, and I think they're bluffing. But we'll see, because they've been increasing pressure every weekend. And it's funny. It's like the angrier the counter protesters get, the more vindicated they feel. But we have been so good at policing our own. They've got like no room to do anything. Like we've done an incredible job, and like they've attacked our leader. He's not our leader, but he's the guy who, the newspaper says that he allegedly is the organizer.
Yeah.
He has taken a lot of heat. And I've criticized him. A lot of people have criticized him. But as we move forward, we're like a solid year into this. I'm so grateful for him, because he, whenever we had provocateurs in, or whenever we had like anybody acting wrong, he got security and he got these people out.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful, because it's like comical watching these hit pieces come out, because they have nothing. They have nothing on us, but they're trying so hard.
Right. And that's what they do. They try to provoke you. I've seen them do it to me several times. And, I'm not the best with my emotions, and sometimes I can get a little out of control. So I'm glad I have a lot of my friends downtown Toronto that, reel me in and stop me from doing things maybe I shouldn't be doing. But it's just getting to the point where I'm so enraged that this is now a year, and it's not even for me. I have my 17-year-old son upstairs who should be doing 17-year-old things. I'm like, I want him. I want his friends' parents to be calling me saying my son's drunk outside. Like I want him to do 17-year-old things. I want to catch him smoking a joint. I want him to sneak out of the house at midnight. Like, these are the things I want that's what 17-year-old kids do, but none of his kids or his friends are allowed out. So for the most part, he stays in his room.
Breaks my heart.
That's what I'm fighting for, because I'm lucky that my son's mental health is good, and he's always been that type of kid who could be by himself, and he maybe even thrives off of it. But most children are not like that, and it's not going to last forever. He's not going to be able to maintain his mental health, not being social and not being out with his friends. Next year he's supposed to graduate. He doesn't wear a mask. He's not going to participate in that, and so he's going to lose out on that for nothing.
It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
It is.
And especially like when we're not allowed to voice that. It's like criminal to go to a protest and voice that. That's
right. And that's what, like, teachers were able to go, like, we've had our teachers on strike for almost a year up to the pandemic, and they were outside every day with their signs. That was okay. But now, oh my God, because, in Ontario, 6,000 people in 1 year out of 15 million have died. Oh my God. Like, you're not allowed. You've lost everything.
Yeah.
For what?
For what? So you could
take my chances.
Yeah, and I'm getting a lot more candid with some of my rhetoric, because it's like the answer to the question for what is to extend somebody's stay in a long-term care home where the average stay is 12 months, so that you can extend it to 12 months or 13 months or 14 months. That's what it's for, because everybody else is okay. Everybody else is all right. And like, I'm tired of the kid gloves, Suzanne. Like, I'm tired of this shit. Like, we've got real serious shit going down in this country, and people are comfortable with it. It's time to stop. It's time to stop.
protect our elderly, protect those in the long-term care facilities. I think here in Ontario, it's something like 80% of deaths have happened in long-term care facilities. And I think the average death rate here is like 81. And I'm like, really? Like, I can only wish that I lived to 81. And yet we are so worried about these people who are in homes because they can't take care of themselves, because they are sick, because they have dementia or whatever. We're worried about their lives, but we're not worried about our children's lives. Like I just don't get that. Like, yeah, you know what? Every death is sad, and I feel for anybody who has actually been healthy and died of COVID-19. But viruses kill people. My mother died from a virus. Like, well, I mean, she had cancer, but she got rotavirus or whatever it was, which killed her. But that happens. It happens when you have, you know, poor immune systems. It happens when you're sick. It happens when you're old. You could die from a simple cold. Children die from the seasonal flu. These things happen, and as sad as they are, we've been living that way. I've been living that way for 47 years. And it's all of a sudden because, you know, they say, and it's not even the deaths that they're basing all this on. It's their fake models. Like here in Ontario, Doug Ford said a month ago that we are looking up the barrel of a smoking gun, and we're looking at 20,000 positive cases a day. We're at like 1,042 today.
Yeah. Yeah, and I always laugh because people get so upset when you say it's just the flu or things like that. But what would the graphs look like if they tracked the seasonal influenza?
Right.
What would they look like? You would see a bunch of deaths in long-term care homes, and you would see like a select number of hospitalizations. You'd see these things.
Right.
You'd see these things. It would look very similar.
Last week we were talking about overwhelmed hospitals. So I decided to check out Ontario hospitals that were overwhelmed. And I went year by year by year by year. I'm just looking up the Main Street. Like literally every single year, I went all the way back to 2009. But from 2019 to 2009, every single year, the hospitals were overwhelmed. The hospitals don't have enough nursing staff. They don't have enough hospital beds, you know. So nothing any different than this year. This is no different. In fact, in Ontario, we have almost 400 hospitals. It was 2 or 3 days ago, I checked, and the actual ICU COVID-19 rate was 300 and something. So literally less than one COVID-19 patient in the ICU per hospital. Like literally, like overwhelmed. How is that overwhelmed? We added like something like 1,300 ICU beds. I have a hospital down the street, a secondary hospital that was made, cost us $2.1 million. They built it in May. It hasn't been used once.
Yeah.
So overwhelmed? I don't think so.
Yeah, and it's sad because I've talked to some nurses, and they're still mad at me. They're still mad at me for protesting. But like you ask them about it, and like they're not flooded. No, they're not flooded. And the other weird thing, I made some phone calls the other day. I called Kelowna General Hospital. And I think the viewers can trust. Like, I'm pretty reasonable, right? I like to crap my pants on the stream, but I'm a reasonable guy when I'm talking to other people. Yeah. And I just asked, like, hey guys, I couldn't find the numbers online. I'm wondering how your COVID ward is. I'm wondering like how many people are in there. Are you swamped? Is it empty? What's going on? And they're like, oh, we can't tell you that, but call these guys. And so they send me to the feds. Give me a federal phone number. I call them. They go, oh, we can't tell you that. We gotta get you the provincial number. So they get me the provincial number, and they go, oh, we're not allowed to tell you that. Like, what? They're like, yeah, we're not allowed to tell you that. The Kelowna General Hospital is not allowed to tell you that. We're not. Neither are the feds. Nobody's allowed to tell you. And I'm just like, you guys, doesn't that sound like a conspiracy theory that
right? I'm not allowed to tell you. Like, just tell me, are you 99% at capacity with ICU or COVID-19 patients? Are you at 0%? Like, it's really simple. Like, do you have 1,000? Do you have one patient? Like, it's really, why? What are they hiding? What are they hiding? Because it's not overwhelmed, not any more than any other flu season.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, I'm like genuinely kind of scared, and I haven't really been that scared throughout this whole thing, but I'm kind of freaked out really thinking about what if the next one is deadly. Like, how severe is that boot going to be on our necks if the next one is worse?
Right.
Like, can you imagine? Because like everybody's totally comfortable with this right now. Imagine what they'd be comfortable with later, you know? Because right now it's not that big a stretch to imagine them rounding up the mean old anti-maskers from the rally and shipping them to a re-education camp. That's not a big stretch right now.
Absolutely. And it'll be a CCP run facility as well.
Yeah, of course. And so if this next one is worse, it's going down. It's really going to go down. But we just got to stay strong because freedom isn't free, you know? And like, some people understand that by reading books and looking at the past. And some people watch The Big Bang Theory and don't use their brain.
Right. Or watch the CBC.
Yeah, for sure. Globalist news. These guys are a mess, Suzanne.
Yeah.
But we better get rolling here. Is there anything else that you got going on that you wanted to tell the people before we take off?
Well, today I was invited to join the OTL group, and I will be working with them setting up freedom drives. I don't know if you saw the freedom drive we did on Saturday, but it was a beautiful thing. We went from my place in Burlington to downtown Toronto, along the lakeshore, along a lot of well-to-do neighborhoods, honking our horns, and it was beautiful. So I'm going to be working with them and setting that up and working on initiatives, small initiatives, trying to get protests happening in the smaller cities, bridge protests, different things. I'm looking at doing a couple initiatives like everybody go to their COVID-19 testing center on the same day, record the people going in and out, for an hour or two, just to show that they're not busy, and everybody post it on the same day. That's the key, is when we're doing things, is like across the country, everything needs to be done like at the same time on the same day. Could be, and then posting it so it makes more of an impact, because if just me, I go to the COVID center and I post something and it's just one person, it really doesn't have that impact. But if you can show 1,000 different people at 1,000 different COVID-19 centers posting that it's dead, then maybe that will wake some people up. I've also got a couple now for this I'm gonna have to wear a mask, but we're gonna start doing videoing in Costco's on like Saturday, Sunday afternoon, just to show you, because my local Costco, so we can have 572 people in there, but I'm not allowed to be in a group of more than 5. The other day, my friend, she videoed the local Costco on a Sunday afternoon, and literally there was over 100 people in line. It went around the building and then double looped onto the other side. It was the craziest thing, and here I am being charged because I'm, in a group of 5. So we're just looking at different things, because while the big protests are great, we really need to start doing these things in the smaller cities as well, and rural areas, and just different initiatives to kind of wake people up. I've ordered some 3 banners, 3 12x2 different banners with different messages, and I can't wait for Doug Ford. I can't wait. So literally, I haven't been to Doug Ford's house protesting in a few weeks, only because I'm worried because of our severe lockdown. I'm worried about other people following me and getting tickets or charged and then not coming back. So I put a hiatus on that, but I've got a beautiful sign for when we go back. Doug Ford is going to love it. So are his neighbors.
I love it. I love it. And you got to let Doug Ford know that we got to conserve the economy and conserve our rights, because so far all he's conserving is McFlurries in his belly.
It was just announced today that Ontario is looking at, I think, a $40 billion deficit for last year. Now, as crazy as it sounds, I think the Liberals, the worst they did was 20 billion, and Doug Ford promised he would never get that high, yet he's doubled that in 1 year. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're looking at here. We are looking at a $40 billion tax bill coming to us, and that's just the numbers that we know of. That was his emergency. So he took it literally from the emergency fund or something. I forget exactly how they said it today, but yeah, $40 billion.
Unbelievable. What a mess.
$40 billion deficit by a conservative. And the craziest thing is, if you go on Ford Nation, there's a few conservatives on there. Well, they're fake conservatives, but I used to be tight with them 3 years ago when I was helping campaign for Ford. And they are as brainwashed as the Liberals, because as long as a conservative is spending the money and having the power over them, these conservatives don't care. They're liars. They're as brainwashed as the Liberals. It's the craziest thing to listen to these people who 3 years ago were talking about Liberals having control over us, and now saying, well, it's okay because it's Doug Ford.
Yeah, I'm never voting conservative again. I'm all in on the Libertarian Party for real. Yeah. There's nobody else I can go with. Are you thinking the same?
Yeah, I'm just thinking we need a complete redo of the system altogether. Like,
yeah,
I've been saying for years. I've been saying this even before this, but we should be having referendums when, say, the government, like, there should be like a limit. So say the government wants to spend $10 million. There should be a referendum of the people. It's our money. We should say, yes, you can spend that money, or no, you can't spend that money. Like, these guys are just like hand over fist sending money to wherever the hell they want. We don't know where it's going. But we, as the taxpayers, the people who paid this money into the system, should start having rights on where this money is going.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're stealing it from us. We should have a say.
Absolutely. Like, at least a little one.
Yeah, I think so. I like where your head's at. I'd vote for you, Allegedly Suzanne. For real, I would.
Oh my God, I could never. Like, I would not be. I would, like, literally lose my shit in the friggin' if I was in Parliament. I would lose my shit on these people like the first day.
That's why I would vote for you. All right, but I do have to run. Thanks for coming in, people. Buy resistance wear. You look cool like old Redpill. And can you plug your YouTube channel? What can you plug?
Mine?
Yeah. You're an independent journalist, right?
Yes. Free Hugs Media. And this is my friend from Vancouver. You might know him, Mac Parhar.
Yeah. I gotta say, oh yeah, I'm a round Earth theorist though, so I can't give you.
No, but honestly, he doesn't even talk about flat Earth. Like, in the last year, nothing about flat Earth, because at this point in time, it's nothing about flat Earth right now, because we got to deal with all this other shit before we can think about anything else. But this is my good friend Mac, and yeah,
and he's got my full support. I love Mac. He's great.
Yeah. Free Hugs Media. I like, it's just it's not very professional, but I'm learning, and I'm just trying to get the word out there to people. I'm frontline and center, so, and I'm there every week, so I'm just trying to get the word out and get as much people seeing what's going on as possible.
Yeah, man, for real. And I have learned it's not hard to be twice as good as Globalist News. It's actually not. You just hit record and then tell people what happened.
Even as unprofessional as mine is, I think I'm at least telling the truth.
Right. Absolutely. So be brave, live free, take your vitamin D, and hug your family, people. We love you.